Hey everyone, and welcome. So for years, we've been hearing that online learning is this great equalizer, right? But is it really? Today, we're going to dig into that idea and explore why that one-size-fits-all approach might actually be failing our students, and more importantly, what we can do about it.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Think back to the last online class you were in, whether you were teaching or learning. Did it really feel like it was designed for everyone? Or did it kind of feel like some people were getting left in the dust, just unable to keep up with a cookie-cutter format? You know, this question gets right to the heart of one of the biggest challenges we're facing in education today. All right, here's the game plan for our explainer today. First, we'll tackle one-size-fits-none. Then, we're going to move beyond the digital basics. After that, we'll put a spotlight on specializations, figure out how to be mastering your niche, and finally, we'll look ahead to the future of expertise. Okay, let's dive right into our first section. Online learning is absolutely everywhere now, which is great. But as it's gone mainstream, a pretty big flaw in how we've been doing it has become crystal clear.
And here it is. This is the fundamental problem. When we use the same digital tools, the same teaching methods for every single student, we're basically assuming they all learn in the exact same way. But we know they don't, right? For a student with dyslexia, a standard PDF worksheet isn't a tool, it's a wall. This whole universal approach creates these huge learning gaps for the students who need something more.
So that brings us to the big question. If that generic approach is the problem, what's the fix? Well, it's time to move past just knowing how to use the tech. We've got to get into the science of how to teach with it, and teach with it really effectively.
So what are we talking about here? It's called specialized online pedagogy. And look, this isn't just about being a whiz with computers. It's the art and science of really, truly understanding a specific group of learners, and then designing an online experience that is built just for them. It's strategic, it's targeted, and honestly, it's where the magic really happens.
You know, think of it this way. A general online teacher is kind of like your family doctor. They've got broad knowledge that's super useful for a lot of people. But a teacher with specialized pedagogy, that's your cardiologist, that's your brain surgeon. They have that deep, specific expertise that can literally make a life-changing difference. And that's the level of impact we're talking about here.
Okay, this all sounds pretty good in theory, but what does it actually look like in a real classroom? Let's zoom in on two areas where this approach is a total game changer: special education and teaching English as a second language, or ESL. First up, special ed. And wow, the challenge here is huge. A standard digital classroom can put up all sorts of barriers for students with different cognitive, physical, or sensory needs. How do you actually provide that one-on-one support or adapt materials when you're working through a screen? And this is where the solution just shines. A specialist doesn't just use the default tools. They have a completely different toolkit. They're bringing in screen readers for visually impaired students, or using voice-to-text software for a student with dysgraphia. They're creating content that hits multiple senses and lets students work at their own pace. It's all about building a digital space that fits the student, not forcing the student to fit the space.
All right, now let's switch gears to ESL. Learning a language is so deeply social, so cultural. The challenge online is, how do you create that feeling of immersion when you're not in the same room? How do you really practice the flow of a conversation and pick up on all those little cultural cues when you're separated by screens and maybe thousands of miles?
An ESL specialist knows exactly how to tackle this. They use tons of visual aids to bridge those language gaps. They use virtual breakout rooms strategically, creating these small, safe spaces for students to just talk. And they bring in content that's culturally relevant, which makes the language feel real and alive. It's about turning that screen from a barrier into a window to the world.
So, we've seen what it is, we've seen how it works. Now let's talk about the payoff, because when an educator really truly masters their niche, the positive impact just ripples out to everyone involved. It's huge.
For educators, the benefits are just massive. You're making a real, tangible difference, and that feels good. It leads to so much more job satisfaction. And professionally, it sets you apart. You're not just another online teacher. You are the go-to expert for a specific group of learners. And that can blow the doors open to all sorts of new career opportunities.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's a total shift in your professional identity. You stop being someone who just uses the digital tools, and you become a master educator who wields those tools with incredible purpose and skill. You're a master of the craft, not just the tech.
And that mastery, it has a direct, measurable impact on students. We're talking about huge gains here. Now, this plus 25% figure is just to illustrate the point. But study after study shows that these specialized approaches can seriously boost student engagement. That's the kind of concrete result we see when teaching is perfectly aligned with what students actually need.
And honestly, this is what it's all about, isn't it? This is the ultimate why. For every single student who felt lost or frustrated or just invisible in a generic online class, this specialized approach is a lifeline. It is the difference between just getting by and truly, finally thriving.
Okay, so we've seen the incredible impact on students, but what does this mean for the future of teaching itself? Let's look ahead and see why this matters now more than ever.
Here's the thing you absolutely have to remember. As our technology gets smarter and more advanced, it's really easy to think the tech itself is the answer, but it's not. It's just a tool. The real magic happens when a skilled, specialized human educator picks up that tool and uses it with expertise, with empathy, and with a deep understanding of their students. That human element, it's becoming more valuable, not less.
And I want to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. We hear so much about AI and automation coming for education, but can an algorithm, no matter how smart, truly replicate the nuance, the intuition, and the human connection of a specialist educator? Maybe, just maybe, that deep human expertise isn't just our future, it's the one thing that can never be replaced.